Hi, my name is Shan and welcome back to the chaos that is Shani and Books. Today I'm going to try and do my November reading wrap up before Kian wants to become involved in what I'm doing. I never really do reading wrap ups because a lot of the books are already in videos throughout the month, so I feel like it's too repetitive if I talk about them again at the end of the month. But I don't know if I should, and sometimes I do read books that aren't in other videos, so I don't know. Let me know, do you like watching wrap ups and should I continue to do them next year? Anyway, I'm gonna do one for November because I don't know, I just am. So I'm just gonna go in order of the books that I read. I'll of course leave all the vlogs and things that they are in on my channel already, but these are my final thoughts. So this was the most exciting book, the first book, the book that got me out of my giant month-and-a-half long reading slump, The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Icaro. Gosh, I'm so glad I finally completed a book and now I'm in such a reading mood. This book follows the main character who has never really known her dad. She has only met him once. And then her mum tells her that he has passed away and that she is going to be going over to Nigeria, where she has never gone before, which is where her dad was from, and go to his funeral, which she didn't really want to do at first, but she ends up doing it. She then meets all of his family over in Nigeria that she's never met before. And this book really helped me to realize that that is one of my favorite things to read about in books. Just in general, someone who is mixed race that isn't really in touch with part of themselves, and then, yeah, finding out more about themselves and about that part of them. That is one of my favorite things to read in books, I think, and it's because I can relate to it. And I also really love when the characters then go over to that country. Not all the books that I've read that have that thing, they don't all end up having that character go to that country, but this one in particular did. And I have spoken about this before, but if you didn't know, I live in Australia and my mum is Filipino, my dad is not, and I've never been to the Philippines and I don't feel super connected to any sort of Filipino culture, so I feel like that's why I relate a lot to that happening in these books, because I know if I was sent over to the Philippines, I would be feeling, I don't know, just really lost. But then obviously I live in Australia, which, yeah, I'm not fully Australian, so I really relate to that in books. So if you have any more recommendations for things like that, then definitely let me know. This book also had some Friends references in it, which, if you know, Friends is my all-time favorite TV show, so I loved that. Originally I said that I couldn't give this 5 stars because there were a few like cheesy moments in it where I kind of rolled my eyes, but looking back and reflecting, I think I am going to be giving it 5 stars. I read it at the perfect time, it pulled me out of my slump, and yeah, I'm not going to deduct a whole star just for the fact that there were a few scenes that I was kind of like, that was a bit like weirdly convenient that that character just popped up at that moment sort of thing, because I did really enjoy this and I'm really looking forward to reading this author's debut novel, because I think this is her second book. Sorry if you can hear Kian in the background, but that's life. Okay. The second book that I read was The Switch by Beth O'Leary. Again, I'll link the vlog that this was in. I didn't read the entire thing in that vlog though. I just started it. This was a buddy read that I did with Michaela, who has a YouTube channel, which is Mikla Reads, and I'll leave it linked below. And it was so much fun doing a buddy read with her. I definitely want to organize to do more next year because it was so much fun. And I'm really glad we chose to buddy read this book because we both really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I think that Michaela did as well. She also has a vlog where she read this in it, so go to her channel if you would like to see that. But yes, this is basically, we follow 2 characters in this book, a girl and her grandmother. So the girl's name is Lena, and she is under a lot of stress at her job. She ends up having a bit of a panic attack, and her work is like, you know, you've been working way too hard, you haven't taken any annual leave, so they end up telling her that she has to go on paid leave for 2 months. She's a bit of a workaholic and she really doesn't want to. And then her grandmother, Eileen, lives in a really small town. He's pulling books off my shelf. She lives in a really small town and she's recently single because her ex-husband was not the nicest, it seems. So she's made this cute little list because she wants to find love again, and she's made a list of all the eligible men in her small town, but she feels like there's not a lot of options. So Lena comes to, they kind of swap lives with each other, and Lena is going to come and live in her grandmother's house in this small town and take over all of the tasks that her grandmother has in the town. And her grandmother is going to go to London and live in the city and see what dating life is like there for a 70-year-old. Oh, she's about to turn 80, that's right, yeah. And yeah, this was really, really sweet. The funny thing about this book is that I've had it sitting on my shelf for ages because I read The Flat Share by this author and I really enjoyed it. So when this came out, I picked it up straight away and it's just been sitting on my shelf. And my grandma's birthday in July, I ended up buying her a copy and sending it to her along with another book. And yeah, because she lives in a really small town, like I feel like I live in a fairly smallish town in comparison to like big cities. But she lives in a really, really small town, similar to the one that's in this book. Like I was picturing her town as the town in this book. And yeah, she's the same age as the grandmother, and I have to call her and find out if she's read it though. I hope she enjoyed it because yeah, it's funny because I was just picturing her as Eileen, and I really, really loved Eileen. Maybe that's why I loved Eileen so much in this book. I didn't really care for Lena, their granddaughter, as much. I mean, I enjoyed her chapters, but I didn't really like reading from her perspective. I loved reading from Eileen's perspective. And yeah, like I said, maybe it's because I was picturing my grandmother as her. But she was so sweet, and she just made these cute little lists, and she was just the sweetest old lady ever, and I just wanted her to find love, and I was just rooting for her the whole time in this book. Obviously Beth O'Leary is a romance author, so there are romantic elements to this book, so that was really sweet, and it was so much fun buddy reading it with Michaela, and we were messaging back and forth our theories of what we thought of the characters, who we thought they were going to end up with. And yeah, again, I read it at the perfect time. It helped pull me out of my slump. And the fact that I sent this to my grandma and I just imagined Eileen as her, it is going to be really special to me, this book. So next up, we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This, unfortunately, wasn't as good as I had hoped it was going to be. This has such great reviews. So many people love this book. It was the winner of the Goodreads Choice Awards last year, which is why I read it if you didn't see my video. This is following this girl, Nora, who tries to end her life, and she ends up in this middle place called the Midnight Library, where she's presented with this opportunity to see her life had she made certain different decisions. So there are endless books, and in each one, she's able to go into a life that she could have had if she had made a different decision. So it is such an interesting concept because I always think about how your life's direction can just change from certain decisions that you make differently. But yeah, I just didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I just feel like I didn't love reading from Nora's perspective, maybe. Obviously, each life that she jumps into, she's instantly in the place of herself in that life, and she doesn't have any memories of that version of herself. So she has to like quickly kind of look around for context clues about what she should be doing, who people are. All these people are talking to her. She has no idea who they are, but she has to pretend that she does so it's not weird. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think I just didn't really love reading from her perspective and didn't really connect with her. But it is still definitely an enjoyable read, and I would still recommend it to people. I think I'm settling on a 3 or 3.5. Oh, really? Do you want to hold this one? Would you like to read this book? Okay. It's called Midnight Library. Do you want to read it? You tell me what you think when you've read it. Thank you. Next up, I have The Patient by Jasper DeWitt, which is a horror book. I know, isn't it crazy? I read a horror book. And I read this for my Reading Gabby Reads favorites video, which of course, again, I'll have it linked below. This is super short. How long is it? Like 200 pages, so it won't take you long to read if you wanted to pick this up. It is about this doctor who is recounting his experience with this one patient. I really love the way it's written. It's written in these forum posts. So it is written as if the doctor is writing onto a forum. So it feels like that you're just reading these posts from this man. And yeah, he's documenting his experience with this one patient who had been in this mental hospital since he was 6, and everyone who has tried to treat him or spent a long amount of time with him ends up going pretty much insane themselves and ending up in the hospital, or they ended up committing suicide. So it's really bizarre about what is going on with this patient. He's been in there for so many years, and this doctor is recounting his experience with this patient, with this hospital, and everything that went on, and it's really creepy. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting read. Lots of talk about psychology if you enjoy that. I think in the video I said I was going to give it like a 4 stars, maybe a 4.5, but I feel like it's a 5. I keep thinking about it, and it might be one of my favorite reads of the year. I don't even know. Next up, also for that video and also for Sapphicathon, I read Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur, and this is a female romance book. It is basically about these 2 girls, Darcy and Elle, and Darcy's brother sets them up on a blind date because he knows Elle from work, and they go on this blind date and it doesn't go super well, but then they end up in a bit of a fake dating situation because Elle's family is on her because she never has relationships that last, so they just think she's hopeless in life and relationships, and she wants to show them that they're wrong. And then Darcy, her brother, is on her case about getting in a relationship. He obviously set up this blind date, and he is going to keep pressuring her to find someone and trying to set her up with all these new people, so she just tells him that the date went well with Elle. So they end up fake dating, and I'm sure you can guess where it goes from there, but it's so good. And yeah, it's one of my favorite romances that I've read. Have you done a poo? Hang on, we have to go and do a change of poo. Okay, I'm gonna keep going through because this video. Anyway, next up, we have a book that I'm trying to consider whether this has become my all-time favorite book of this year. I've had the same favorite book of the year like pretty much since February, but this book has come close. I didn't think it beat out my number 1 and number 2 book, but I'm thinking about it. This is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare. This book is so beautiful. I love this cover. I think this is my favorite ever book cover. I don't know why, I just really love it. I love that like the girl's face is there, but it's not super in your face because I don't really like people on book covers, but it's, you can still see it, and the colors are just so, I just love it. Anyway, this book, obviously I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely love it. I definitely want to get more editions of this book because there's a couple of other editions. I'm so glad I got this random used copy online that came signed. What the heck? This book is about this 14-year-old girl who lives in Nigeria. She is in the poorer part of Nigeria, and her mum has recently passed. Her family is struggling for money. Her dad has pulled her from school so that she can help out at home, which she hates because she wants to go to school, she wants to learn English, she wants to become a teacher. So she hasn't fully learned English. And this book at the beginning is written in the way that she speaks. So she doesn't fully know how to speak English. Does that make sense? It's like broken English, I think is the way it's supposed to be described. I'm not really sure. The point is, it's written in a really interesting way. Anyway, her dad ends up basically selling her, Keen's playing with farm animals now if you can hear things in the background, selling her to this older man that lives in their town to be his wife, his 3rd wife. And obviously she's 14, he's a much older man. As you can imagine, there's a lot of trigger warnings going into this regarding, yes, sexual assault because she is 14, which there were some really hard parts to read in this story, like, wow. Anyway, in a turn of events, she ends up being sold again to be a domestic servant for this rich family in a different part of Nigeria. And the story goes from there. She has had to go through so many things in her life leading up to this point, and yet she's still so strong-minded in the fact that she wants to learn English, she wants to make a life for herself. Hi! You okay? Okay. Yeah. She does start to learn English, so that's where it switches halfway, and the writing shows that and reflects Oh no. Anyway, this is an amazing book. Everyone should read it. Back says, a stunning novel, original, beautiful, and powerful. I've never read anything like this. No, I have 2 more books to talk about. I have 2 DNFs as well, which was The Glass Hotel and Dear Edward. I'm not going to talk about them because I decided not to finish them. Next we have Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner. Didn't love this. I gave it 2 stars. The first half is like Mean Girls if Katie Heron were plus size, is the way I described it in my vlog. Basically, the beginning of this, we're talking about this girl who is like a plus-sized influencer, and we're getting all these flashbacks to high school of how she was involved with these mean girls. She was involved with these mean girls who just felt like the plastics, and how they had a bit of a falling out one night, and she stands up for herself to this guy, and she is filmed and goes viral, and so that's how she becomes this influencer. Then we find out that this mean girl, this Regina George character, is asking her to be a bridesmaid at her wedding, which is weird because they had a falling out. Anyway, she agrees to do it, and then at the wedding, halfway through, this book switches from like a romance contemporary into a weird murder mystery, and it really goes downhill from there. There was a weird like race part that I read out in my vlog if you're interested, about this Asian character that I just thought was a bit weird coming from a white author, because I'm pretty sure she's white. Yes, it was 2 stars. It had a lot of potential if it talked more about social media and people's lives and stuff, but I was rolling my eyes at the mystery. It was weird. And that is that. Then the last book is Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Gassi. I actually don't know if I'm saying that right. I never looked it up. This book was also really amazing. I think I'm settling on a 5-star rating. I was thinking 4 for a while, but we'll see. And this is basically about this girl who family have moved from Ghana, and she's living in America. Her brother has recently passed away of a drug overdose, and that has left her mother depressed. The main character is really smart. She's a scientist, and she's just trying to live her life, help her mother, and she's also dealing with thoughts about, I guess, religion and kind of what it is to her. There were some really great discussions about that I've marked down in this. Yeah, a woman trying to survive the grief of a brother lost to addiction, and a mother trapped in depression while pursuing her ambitions. It's not gonna let me talk. But yeah, I thought it was really great. It's quite short. I really enjoyed reading from this main character's perspective, and that's all the books that I read in November. Oh gosh. Everything I do is just chaotic. I think I'm going to have to go and occupy him now. But thank you for watching. Really? Definitely let me know if you enjoy watching reading wrap-ups. I feel like I'm always hesitant to do them because I'm so like self-conscious of the way that I explain and review books. I just don't feel like I'm a very good book reviewer, which is why I stick to like talking about them in vlogs, because then I feel like if it's a more messy review, it doesn't matter. But you let me know what you think. I'm also trying to do a version of Bookmas and upload videos whenever I can, whenever he can let me make them. But yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in my next video.